Welcome to this random live on Monday, and your host is Monova. And today I want to answer one question that I kept receiving a lot lately after having done my post about my contractless life. And I have received a lot of questions about how is that possible that you don't have a contract, yet you are doing what you love and you are making the UN peace salary and more and living with your loved ones. How is that possible? And that's the question I want to answer to in case you feel like you're freaking out without a job, or you're freaking out that you may lose a job, or you're freaking out how is that even possible that you can live and do what you love, whether you have a job contract or not. And that's what I want to talk about from my experience, right? So, if we look at the facts of what is currently true about me is I don't have a job contract. I didn't have it for the last 4 years and almost 3 months now, 2 months. And I didn't have the UN job the same amount, 4 years and 2 months. And back in the day when I was transitioning, 2021 January, when I decided to be my own boss, do my own things that I love, do the impact that I love, and be with my loved ones. Since then, I was not only be able to make my UN P3 salary and more, but also I bought the property in the meantime. I had a lot of family expenses that I supported my family through those processes. So I got my sister, her studies and education. I got my niece's study in Germany. Yeah, I've been supporting my family financially since then. So all of this was possible while I was doing what I love, which is coaching. And I was also uh, uh, doing this from three different countries, Europe, Central Asia, and Turkey. And like, if someone looked at my life, they would be saying how crazy it is, right? How crazy it is that one can do what they love, be with their loved ones, be in different countries, and making the money they want to without having a job contract. How is that even possible? Like, what on earth, right? And this is really what I want to address to, because I feel a lot of humanitarians currently are in this very um, perilous or very crisis type of situation. And I feel you. And my goal here is not to advocate for a life without a job contract, but my goal is to advocate for what is possible, whether you have a job contract or not, and getting your like worldview expand a little, maybe, to say that you are capable of doing whatever you love, whether you have a job or not. And that's really what I want to advocate for. So the way that I did in my own experience, and what it takes for you to, or for anyone who wants to do this, what it takes to do this is, I would say, three things. And I really want to advocate it everywhere I can. Is the first thing that it took me to do this is being able to control my emotions. And I think that's something that I have been helping so many humanitarians to recognize, that as long as our fear and worry, anxiety gets out of hand, we cannot even fathom the possibility of how capable we are to do whatever we want to, right? So that's why the first thing we need to do is getting fear and all the other negative emotions that are going to sabotage us, that are going to get us derailed, that are going to question us and doubt us. All of those emotions we need to learn how to manage in a way that they don't keep creating obstacles, right? That's what we want to do. And that's what I have done in my own transitioning as well. I keep talking about how the biggest challenge that I needed to overcome is my own fears and doubts. And once I was able to do that, then I realized, oh my God, there's nothing I cannot do, because now I know how to manage my emotions so that I don't keep reacting to my emotions. Instead, I decide how I want to react to the external world, whatever is happening, right? So that's why if you want to live a life where you are not rocked by every crisis that's going to happen outside, or by every worries your brain will offer you as, oh my God, this is something that you need to be worried about. Whatever it is, the more you are able to learn about your emotions and how to manage them, how to allow them to go through your body without you reacting to them, the easier it will be to go through this process. Because in the process of my own transitioning as well, when the savings were coming down, or when I thought that, oh, who am I even to do this? Or I thought, is this even going to work, what I'm doing currently? Back in the day when I had all of those doubts, or how could I even leave my job that was paying me P3 level salary when I could just continue sailing the comfort zone? I decided to go for what I really wanted to go for. In all of those moments when the emotions were very high, what I ended up doing is not really working on what I love doing. Instead, I just kept entertaining my fears and doubts and worries and anxieties. And guess what? They became even more fierce, and they became so difficult to control that I spent the whole year 2021 battling with my emotions. And then, thankfully to coaching, I was able to not only learn that all of my emotions can be managed, I also learned how to use them to my advantage instead of letting them go against my dreams, right? So that's why the first thing is managing whatever the emotions that stops you from going for what you want to, or stops you from being persistent about things, or those emotions that make you give up on things that are really important to you. We need to learn how to manage them. The second is doing things in my own way, no matter what the external circumstances tell me. And I think this is something that's very difficult for many of us. It used to be, including myself. I used to believe that if the external circumstances, if the crisis is saying that, at the time when I transitioned, the crisis was the COVID, and everyone was freaking out about how the world will come to an end, and I was in quarantine, but I kept working on the things that mattered to me anyway, because I wanted to decide how I react to those crises instead of just letting crisis dictate what is possible for me, right? So that's why whatever the external circumstances are out there, whatever crises are out there, we have the power to react to it in the way that we want to. And I know that it sounds very challenging at times, and it was very challenging, but it is skill that we can all learn. And the great thing about that skill is that the more we see ourselves as someone who can do whatever we want to, no matter what the circumstances are, then it doesn't matter whether we are making that money within the yuan context, within another context, or within the context that we create for ourselves. And that power that we need to learn to feel, that power we need to learn to use, that power that we need to learn to generate, is the skill that we can work to create. And that's a skill that I would love to help anyone to create, because that's a skill that we need to practice and practice and practice, where we decide how we want to react with the external world, instead of just letting external world scare us and make us fear and make us just give in or not pursue what's important to us, right? So that's the second skill, which I call it this skill of powerfulness. Some people call it identity, some people call it self concept. Essentially, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we feel ourselves being more capable than any external circumstances that tell us what to do and not to do. So, in other words, whatever everyone is telling us, whatever the society is crashing, whatever it is, how we decide to react to it or how we decide to continue going for what we want, no matter what the circumstances are, is this ultimate skill that we need to hone. And the third one is, of course, taking actions that are committed. And I think this is something that I was talking about in my webinar recently as well, is that I feel like we always have like two types of actions. One is the action for the ticking the box action, and the other one is doing it with our like whole heart and soul. And we all know what that looks like. We all know how they are different from each other. But in the beginning, when I transitioned, I think I used to do a lot of the ticking the box action because I was so afraid to go all in, right? I was so afraid to commit to it all. I was so afraid whether this will work out or not. I was kind of like doubting it the whole time. I was starting something and not finishing, and then it's just so exhausting. At some point, you just feel like, okay, enough already, like decide which one to go for and go for it, because that's also the crazy part, is that the reason many of us humanitarians have become successful being a humanitarian is because we have given our all, meaning we have done this with all our hearts and souls because we really believed in it. We were so eager to learn, we were so eager to do this as best as we could. That's why we made it successful, right? And the same goes for our transitioning, whatever we're transitioning to. If we keep tiptoeing around, if we keep wondering whether this will work or not, if we keep questioning whether it will even work, then obviously we will not go anywhere. And that's where we end up taking ticking the box action instead of committed action. And that's why I really want to use this to advocate for three things. No matter whether you decide to continue in the sector or you decide to become your own boss, or maybe you go to a private sector or to the public sector, whatever it is you're transitioning to, we always need those three components that we need to really get good at. The one is managing whatever the emotions that tell us that we shouldn't go for it because we're scared, and that's okay being scared. But how do we manage that fear and then not let it sabotage us is the skill we need to learn. The second is we need to see ourselves more powerful than whatever the external circumstances that are going on, so we can decide how we interact with it, and we decide how to continue going for what we want to, no matter what the world is telling us. And the third is taking committed, full heartedly all in action and going for it, instead of keep saying that, oh, I can't really afford this, or I don't think it can work, I don't think it will be this way or that way, because that's where we don't go anywhere and we keep delaying what we want to go for. And most importantly, we keep being affected by crisis in ways that we didn't expect, because we just keep feeling our job will be safe. And then we now know that it may not always be the case, even though we love the cause, we love the organization, the institution, or whatever it is that we love. We can always contribute in a different way, or even within that context. Except that if we know that we can manage whatever the emotion that comes up, if we know that we can go for whatever we want to in life, and if we know that we're going to take whatever action needed to get to what we want to because we're so good at it, we are more capable than our external circumstances are telling us, then we're not going to be afraid, and we're not going to be a victim of our own fears. We're not going to be a victim of our of the resources that others provide us. We're not going to be dependent on the employers because we can rely on ourselves. And that's what I'm really advocating. And the biggest skill that I have gained through my experience of transitioning myself, of making more than UN used to pay me, and of working on the impact that I really want to work on, which is a substantial change in people's lives, The biggest lesson that I have learned, and also the skill that I have learned, is I can always rely on myself to create whatever the reality, whatever the future I want to, whatever the lifestyle I want to. And I don't need to be dependent on any institution, on any funding, or on any donors, or on any promotion, whatever it is, because I know what I'm capable of. I know how to manage my emotions, and I also know how to take actions. So that's what I want to advocate it for. And therefore, if you want to live this life where you are no longer afraid of having a job contract, not having a job contract because you know you can rely on it, then I would love to help you coach get to that place where you no longer feel so affected by any crisis, whether this one or the crisis that may come up in the future. So come coach with me, and I would love to help you get to this place where you will be also talking about, oh my God, I realized my stability, my security all within my hands, and it doesn't need to hang on the institutions. Have a beautiful week.